Welcome to the Coffee Journeys show, hosted by me, Piotr Zagorowski, author of the Coffee Journeys blog. In this show, I'll be sharing my journey from being a technical person to a leader and discussing topics such as leadership, technology, and intentional living. I'll be sharing my unique perspective and insights and offering guidance on how to develop the skills and mindset needed to succeed in today's world. Whether you're an aspiring leader, a technology enthusiast, or simply looking to learn more about the world around you, this podcast is for you. So, join me for the engaging and thought-provoking conversations on leadership, technology, and intentional living on the Coffee Journeys show. Making decisions is an integral part of our lives, and yet many find it challenging. However, the ability to be decisive is a valuable skill, and as skill, it can be developed and honed over time. In this episode, we're going to explore strategies to help you become more decisive and help you in your personal and professional life to help other people to be more decisive. So plan for today is really 3 points. One is I will give you my thoughts about how I'm trying to be more decisive, and you can use it when you need to make decision. Then the second part is going to be how we can help our teams to be more decisive. And the third one is when we need to delegate decision-making process to individual in our team, how we can help this person to be more decisive and to make good decisions. So let's start with our own approach, my approach and your approach as a leader to be more decisive. So common roadblock to decisiveness is the perception that choices are limited to just two options, white and black, 1 and 2, A and B. In reality, there is often a multitude of possibilities. To become more decisive, challenge yourself to think creatively about the problem at hand. Explore various alternatives and consider different perspectives. How we can do it? There's a few points that you can follow to make it happen. One effective approach to enhance decisiveness is to establish a decision-making framework. The framework can include, for instance, setting criteria what constitutes a good decision, like how I know I'm making good decision, what good decision looks like, and so on and so on. Another point, considering relevant information gathering and seeking input from others, meaning that obviously to make good decision, you have to have a lot of data, and to have a lot of data, you should reach out to other people to help you to gather this data so that you can decide. And then how you decide, this is another point that we are talking about here, is weighting pros and cons of different opinions. So when you gather your data, when you know how good decision looks like, you just try to divide your information, pros and cons, and this will help you to make decision. So when you follow this systematic approach, you can make decision more confidently and more consistently so that you are in habit of making good decisions, and more decisions you do, statistically, when you have consistent approach, these decisions will be good. Another point that I would like to make is that you should be aligned with your own values. Mindfulness and staying present can significantly aid in decision-making process, and by focusing on the current moment, you can eliminate distractions and concentrate on what truly matters to you in decision-making process. And, this practice also allow you to trust your instincts to make choices aligned with your own values and goals. So what I would say is that make sure you define your own values. If you are operating within like a business perspective or team perspective, make sure that you have these values defined, core values, vision, whatever statements are important to you. When you know them and you need to make decision, it's always easier to have this lens when you look through these problems and making decisions that are aligned to your values or your organizational values. I hope you know what I mean. And then finally, for kind of bigger decisions, if you need to make, don't hesitate to seek support from friends, family, mentors, people who you trust and who know you when you are facing important decisions. And I kind of stress it important because you don't want to bother your friends or mentors with some kind of decisions that you can make by following your process from previous point. But if it's a big decision, it's always good to have different people perspective, and people I just mentioned, friends, family, mentors, they should know you and they could provide valuable insights and advice and also act as accountability buddies. So discuss your mission, vision, goals, values with these people and you listen to them and they can help you with perspective and different opinion or present some other dimension that you can be blind because you live in your own box. But, people are different backgrounds and so on and so on. So what I'm trying to say is that just trust people, talk to them, and it's still your decision, but they will broaden your view and perspective. And that leads us to how we can help our teams. So this is another big topic number 2, how we can help our team to make decisions. When you are part of the team, effective decision-making become a collective effort. And it always should be like this. It should be default that if you are trying to make decision, involve your team, involve people who you trust, involve people who you work with. First of all, you need to align decision ownership and set clear deadlines for each decision, as I said. That's the principle. As much as I had word deadline, it has to have certain deadline and owner. Now we need to introduce the definitions, and there are 3 definitions: type 1, type 2, and type 3 decisions. Type 1 is you make the decision when you are the person who is deciding. Type 2 is you make decision but with team input. So you're facilitating. I will get it in the moment, to this in the moment. And type 3 is that you delegate the decision and an individual on your team decides. So how we implement it in practice? So first of all, obviously you need to inform your team. This is the framework, like these decisions, what does it mean, and so on and so on. So people know what type 1 is, what type 2 is, and what type 3 is. And now let's say we have situation when you need to make decision by your own. So this is type 1 decision, and you can say something like this: hey team, I need to make decision. I'm making decision type 1. So people know I'm making this decision, or you as a leader. And here is what we're going to do, and here is the reason for it. And it's extremely important. Like, you define what you are deciding on. You inform what decision is. We're doing A, B, or C. And finally, extremely important detail. This is why I make this decision. This is what led me to believe this is the good decision. So basically explain your train of thoughts or reasoning behind this decision. Now there is another situation like, hey team, this is decision type 2. Let's discuss it for half an hour or 20 minutes, list all pros and cons, and I will give you a decision by end of this Friday. This could be a good explanation, and team should know what are we doing here, because we define this decision type 2, type 1, 2, and 3. And finally, decision number 3 It's like, team, this is decision type 3. Please identify a decision owner and bring me your decision by end of Friday this week. And final topic of this episode, which is how we can help an individual to make the right decision if we delegate it. When helping a person making a good decision, we can follow up some steps. And I will give you some example of questions that you can ask, especially in the beginning of this process when you try to teach people how to make good decisions. And then I will give you a template, what you can expect, or how you can teach people or coach people when they are coming to you to propose decision, especially in the beginning, or when they try to make sure that they're making right decision. Clarifying questions from you as a leader could be as follows. So what is the decision? Again, going back to definitions, like what are we trying to decide on? What are you having problem with? Next step is like what data is needed for the decision. For some folks, it will be surprising that you need to gather some data to help with your decision. It might be good coaching opportunity, like by asking this question, you may prompt some people. It's like, oh, okay, I will gather some more data and bring this to you. That leads us to another question, like, do you have the data? And if not, like, go and get it, because that's how good decisions are made. Like more data, more opportunity to make good decision, right? And then finally, like, what decision would you make with that data? So I'm asking my employee, my subordinate, what do you think? Like, what would be your decision? Especially if we are in the beginning of this process of delegating the decision. And that should lead to the next question, like, do you still need me to decide, or you just made it with this guidance? Can you see how we can decide what you can do and what we should be doing here? And if we got into this point, this is the process or propose a template that you can ask people to follow when they are trying to communicate the decision. So outcome of the person who comes to you with the proposed decision should be like this. This is the decision I want. Again, going back to definitions and everything. Here is the data for making this decision that I gathered and that helped me to make this decision. And here is my recommendation given the data from the previous points and collection of data. Please let me know if you agree. This is how we coach people to make sure that they communicate these decisions. Concluding, becoming more decisive is a journey that requires time and practice. And whether it's you as a leader that is practicing it, or whether it's you as a leader coaching other people, it just requires these reps, these repetitions, and making sure that we do it often and we do it right. So by implementing the strategies that I mentioned here and remaining committed to improving decision-making abilities, you can make choices confidently and efficiently, and you can help your team to make it so. And I'm going to end with a quote that will summarize it, and it should prompt us to thinking about decision-making process in a new light. And the quote goes like this: more is lost by indecision than wrong decision. Indecision is the thief of opportunity. It will steal you blind. And that's the famous quote by Cicero. The better, in my opinion, is wrong decision than no decision, especially when you are a leader and people expect you to lead the team, to make decisions. And again, making decisions means sometimes delegating decisions and help your team to make these decisions. And this is all I have for you today. I value feedback a lot. That's why I ask you to review my podcast in your favorite podcasting platform and give it as many stars as you think it deserves. By doing so, this podcast is going to be more visible and I can reach more people to provide value. And before you go, if you would like to join the community of people who are determined to help each other and grow together, join my newsletter at coffeejourneys.blog/newsletter. Thanks for tuning in today, and until next time, have a great